Hey,
I was not gonna ever see it again if I didn't go get it, so,
Joe,
yes.
Jamie has a dinner date, so we gotta,
We gotta book it. It's a dinner date.
yes. Chris, it's Christine's birthday, so,
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Village Council regular meeting to order, November 14th, 2023. I show the time at 6:03, just what I predicted, right? So thank you for coming. And first up, we have, considering we don't have anyone remote, so let's just move on to adoption of the agenda. Any changes? Hearing none, we will need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up, we have, this is different, adoption of the previous minutes before the Pledge of Allegiance. Do you have any changes? Did everyone get a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes and no. Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
I did. They were fine with me. Anyone else? Any changes? All right, I'll need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heels, Kimmy? You're really tall today.
I got heels on.
All right,
Look out,
yeah, that's what I was
buddy.
going to say.
Yep.
Public comment. Do we have anyone here to speak publicly? All right.
no one has signed up to speak.
What's that? There's no one signed up, okay. Presentations. Moving right into presentation of NCDOT. Who do we have here for that?
Well, actually, just kind of start off by saying Amelia Helms is with us from NCDOT, so I thank her for attending. She's remote. I'm not going to talk very much, but basically, in short, there's a memo inside of your agenda packet that kind of outlines how we got here. If you recall, we had a 1,500 linear foot kind of setback requirement that DOT was requiring us to have at each roundabout, but more particularly the roundabout here. They wanted us to go back to the gates of Ainsley and Ladera to take over all of that road in order to have any type of ownership in the roundabout here at Village Hall. If you see the inside of your agenda packet, there's a Google map that kind of aligns their final thought process on where they want that setback to go, which is right where the concrete splitters are. And there's a visual inside of your agenda packet that shows where that is. There's still some jurisdictional issues that we would have to overcome that we're still working out, but that's much better than the 1,500, roughly 1,500 linear feet. So Amelia's here if y'all have any questions. But in short, that's what their solution was, is they would stop that requirement at that point. I do want to make sure that council understands that that doesn't alleviate any of the concerns that we have with the intermittent in Marvin, not in Marvin, in Marvin, not in Marvin, jurisdictional issues on Bonds Grove and Waxhaw Marvin. I'm not sure how DOT would take us having ownership of a portion of road and then stopping, and then starting, and then stopping. So staff's suggestion is to kind of find that first point of where that jurisdictional boundary stops and stop it there. So I'll turn it over to Amelia real fast if she's got any comments or concerns on either one of those.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, I think the Marvin School Road was also one of those, Christina, wasn't it, that had the limits that kind of went in and out of municipal limits that went across the center line and some ran down the center line. So I would assume, like she was saying, that the position would be on both roundabouts. We would stop at that's the concrete splitter island for each leg. And that's just from a maintenance standpoint, that's for both parties much more practical than trying to follow municipal limits through those roundabouts. But yeah, and Christina's right about the trying to figure out we wouldn't want to stop and start short segments of each of those roadways. So that's certainly something we're willing to work with you guys through on coming to where those limits would be on those particular roads.
Okay, Christina, if I'm mistaken, the only section of Marvin School Road that is not in Marvin is the, I don't even know what direction. it is.
Marvin School.
Northbound on the east side?
I don't think there's any issues on Marvin School Road. It's mostly
I didn't think so either.
Bonds Grove. It's really Waxhaw
Marvin
Marvin
Road,
and then
yeah.
Bonds Grove.
Okay, I didn't think that there was an issue there. So the Form SR3, that's the one where we just need to get property owner signatures, just acknowledging that the Village of Marvin will be maintaining the road in front of their property, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and that's just so that the state knows that they know? Amelia, can you answer that question?
Yes, ma'am. That's just them acknowledging that. And that would be in conjunction with a resolution from the county, which Christina's previously said they had their support in getting that.
You want it from the county or from us?
For the areas where it's in both, we would need a resolution from the county as well.
Okay.
I have discussed this with Brian Matthews. He said conceptually, as long as there's no financial obligation, he doesn't see a lot of concern with that.
I don't believe that for diddly squat, but okay.
Would we be requesting it of him?
No, it would be, the commissioners would have to approve a resolution.
Yeah.
And
Good
they would
luck.
just want to be financially free of anything, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, now, he has not brought that to his board, but conceptually, he said, as long as there's no financial obligation. They've done this in the past. I think they did it with Monroe, if I'm not mistaken. So I think there's been a precedent set within the county that they do this. But he would have to take it before their board, yes.
Okay. All right, so Amelia, you need a resolution from us, from the county, and you need the Form SR3 with the property owner signature.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Did y'all have any questions about Bonds Grove or Waxhaw Marvin?
No, I mean, it's going to be a poop show regardless of what happens.
We're going to talk about that later, though, anyways, right?
We can talk about that part later. I just wanted to make sure y'all knew it was
Nope.
still a floating issue.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we got more issues than we know what to deal with right now from what we just found out, so we'll get to that in a little bit, so. All right, anybody have any other questions for Amelia? Nope, okay. Amelia, thank you so much for your time tonight, we appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll have a resolution for that?
We got a lot to talk about before we get there.
Okay. Reports and updates, manager's report?
Okay, got a couple of things. Number one, the Waxhaw Marvin Bonds Grove Roundabout irrigation sleeves. I just wanted to let y'all know, we did submit that over to DOT and to Matt Balcom with Union Power. And they're going to put it in the plans, but they generally don't start that process until closer to the time. So just want to let you know it has been submitted to them. We will keep following up with them to make sure it's still in the plans. Yes. The second thing, I want to turn it over real quick to Austin to give you an update on some banners. We've been going back and forth with our vendor, and he's got some conceptuals for y'all to look at.
All right, I'll make this brief. We do have concepts for the banners, yard signs, and postcards. But I should be able to share my screen. There it goes. Isn't that a pretty landscape? All right. So here is the general banner. Simply have a say in Marvin's future. This is just the general, non-specific issue one. Same thing for the yard signs. then one that's specifically focused on roads, control of roads, speed limits, pedestrian safety.
So these are okay, Christina?
Yes, we have not sent them over to our general counsel for their bond counsel, but we have agreed that they're all neutral in nature and factual.
We will pass them before we order though. But
Okay, I'm just,
Yep. The legal requirement is you can't,
we can't say vote yes.
yes, you can't, you can give information, but you can't push using public money, public resources, one side or the other because of selection, but you can push information and getting people involved, getting people to vote and showing them where the information is.
I
I know
mean-
it's a weird, and I remember, I think I read excerpt from that.
Well, I mean, because if I were walking by and I saw this, I would be like, oh, they want me to vote yes for that. They want me to go and they want me to vote, which is, listen, if you guys say it's okay, I'm good with that. I just think it's pretty,
Of course, we want them to vote yes.
I'm saying, but if I didn't know if I were uneducated and I was walking by, I would say, oh, the Village of Marvin wants me to vote for this.
We'll run it by our general,
Vote doesn't say which way.
I understand that. I'm just saying it.
we'll run it by the folks, but I mean,
I'm great with it. I want people to vote for it, so I'm fine with this. I'm just saying
I had the same question when I processed it. I said factually, we would be improving roads, we would be improving pedestrian safety if the bond
Actually,
was
there is a
approved.
vote
so-
on March 5th. Factually, this is the correct website.
But we will run it by them before we actually order them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think if you have a transportation bond referendum for $15 million, I don't think it's I think it's factual. There will be improvements. The question is, and it's for the voters that you shouldn't then get on the side, is whether or not it warrants the expenditure and the improvements.
Yep.
That's where, and I know it's a gray area.
It really is.
And also,
But each of us individually can promote.
Yes.
individually, you can go in your yard and state whatever you
I
want.
can have this sign in my yard.
Yes. But you can't,
Can we have it out in front of Village Hall? If we're spending
I think,
taxpayer
I
dollars
think you
on it,
probably
then
can.
I would have to say yes.
Yes, I think you can,
Okay.
because you're still remaining neutral. And as long as you do that, it's okay. And also, a lot of people are going to be like, well, this is moving forward. We probably know what our council thinks.
Yeah.
Because you voted to send it forward. But sometimes people are like, I just want to send this to the people, and there can be a split. But stay neutral.
We actually have Chazo with First Tryon as well on standby. I'm not sure if he has any comments or if y'all want him to speak on this, but
I mean,
he's there.
Listen, I think if we send it to bond council and Chaplain is okay with it and they say it's okay with it, then I'm fine with it. This is really nice. Where do the other ones look like?
they're okay, so one for greenways. I'm not crazy about this wording, we're working on it, but you'd have one that would be specifically focused on new greenways. There would be some, I don't have a mock-up of this, but there would be some that would be greenway specific. So Marvin Loop expansion, Waxaw Marvin, Bonds Grove. We could have specific ones with QR codes. People would be directed to the site and see actual maps.
Okay. What else we got?
For the Village Hall Park, same thing. And some of these will have banner versions too. It's like this one could be a very large banner at just literally next to Village Hall here to show the side of the park. Lastly is the postcard that would be mailed out. This one has a lot of information. It's really just a resized version of the flyer. You have your depiction of the Village Hall Park here, the bond amounts, what projects are included. All of this was on the flyer. You've got your QR code to link you to the site. Page 2 is a greenway map. It's a picture of one of our trails, early voting date, the coffee comparison analogy, and that's really it.
Okay, so when, I don't have the schedule in front of me, when are we planning on sending this out, and how many times are we planning on sending this out?
I need to pull up the schedule, actually. We just got the concepts the other day. Let me pull the schedule real fast.
The reason that I'm asking is because on the bottom, the calculation of the average cup of coffee is $4.90. For 20-week, or the Wall Street Journal is blah, 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 blah. So if did you flip it over to the other side, the back side?
This is the backside.
Okay, flip it over the front side, whatever, the opposite side. So we have nothing on here about how much it's gonna cost. Raising taxes.
We can definitely make sure that's added.
I mean, that's what people want to know. And my point to that is we need to make sure that we have that completely nailed down, what we are supposed to be putting out before we're mailing this stuff out.
And I've got something else I'll mention to you all in just a minute when he finishes up. But you guys definitely want to have the tax impact added on the postcard.
I mean, I think it has to be on there.
What she talked about earlier is not what
Yeah, Christine,
Yeah, I'll tell you in just a second.
Okay, here's your schedule, pulled up. Let's see, we're doing this right now, finalizing the concept and design of the banners. Postcard will be developed, postcard mailer to citizens first draft, we're already doing that now. Postcard, yard signs are printed in December, voter cards are printed in December, so this is what this is. So it'll be printed in December. Oh,
Would-
actually, the postcards get mailed in January.
one time,
Do you want them more than one time?
I mean,
Yeah, I would think at least twice.
I do too.
That will be more printing costs. We would have to come back to y'all to approve a different amount for the contract.
That's okay.
I'll communicate that. with
What's a
you.
voter guide card distribution?
I haven't seen that yet. That's not something we haven't got a concept of
Is
yet.
that a mailer?
I would imagine it's just a mailer, which is kind of what this is. It might be the same thing. They might just be
If,
calling it.
let's ask that question, if we have two mailers going out, or they, I would like something mailed out twice. If they're different, that's okay. If they're the same, that's okay, but I think having two things coming out in the mail is a good idea, and for those listening, we didn't steal that idea. We've had this on our list for a while. But I do think that is imperative, that we've got it out in the mail twice.
And you will be seeing you'll be seeing communications start rolling out. My goal is in December. The bond site goes live on.
Yeah, you don't want to publicize it before it's live. I
Yeah,
got that.
once the bond site goes out, we'll be able to have something standing in our newsletters to direct people there, whether it's a QR code, a link, a button, something like that.
Okay.
So you're going to see more stuff start rolling out soon. Any questions on the banners, the yard signs, the schedule postcard?
No, will you run through the yard signs, or the banners and yard signs one more time? Sorry.
So this is just
Okay, good.
master concept for the banner. There's another one for
Good.
roads and safety. All of these yard signs can have banner versions if we need them. We just
Good.
need to think about where we would put them.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I don't love that one.
I don't like the term. Don't like
Okay.
the phrasing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't love that, but I don't know what to put there instead, so.
Would you,
I'll work on
just put expand greenways?
Yeah.
Just
Don't
maybe-
ask their
Don't
opinion.
ask,
Make
don't
it-
ask the question,
yeah.
just say expand greenways.
Statement and not a question.
Statement,
Yeah.
not a question.
We can absolutely do that.
Okay. Good.
Are you guys good on everything else?
Yeah.
On
All right.
on your little schedule there, I thought we talked about coming up with a date to do a town hall specifically.
Yeah, this is just for,
This is just the marketing.
we
This
have
is
it.
the
It
marketing schedule.
is
It's in February.
February
Marketing,
6th
too.
We
at 6
already,
o'clock.
we already have a GeoBond PowerPoint template. It's already set up for the GeoBond Town Hall in February. So we're ahead of it there.
We have a meeting 14th of December?
Huh? You will be, yes, we have the December 12th meeting. That's when we'll be having the bond order public hearings.
We gonna have the PowerPoint at that point in time?
I can't hear you.
No,
You're
we
speaking
will
loud.
not. We will not have a PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is for the town hall meeting that's scheduled in February.
But we'll be able to answer questions that people have if they come in for the public hearing for questions.
I
We do have a small print of the flyers, a nice print that should be ready before the December meeting, so you will have some nice glossy flyers here to hand out.
Okay, before we're printing anything, we need to find out
Yeah.
tax stuff.
Oh,
that we need to
that's
be-
not the postcard, that's the flyer that guys already approved that had all the tax information on it.
Yeah, the tax information's changed, so we need to make sure that we
I
are,
didn't see that email.
Is there any more questions on this topic?
no, thank
Okay.
you. But don't get anything printed yet.
We will not proceed with anything printed until specifically ordered to do so.
Thank you.
The next thing I want to mention to you is the audit is under process. If you have not already filled out your fraud letter, please get with me after the meeting and I'll give you a copy of it to go to the auditor. The next thing is you all had asked us to reduce, talk with the DOT about adding the school speed limit signs on Marvin School Road. I got a very engineered posted response back that I had to decipher about 5 times, but basically, in short, they are not going to post the school zone signs. They did a traffic study the last time they reduced the speed limit, and the reason they reduced the speed limit was to kind of encompass that school zone instead of actually posting the school zone posting. Yeah,
Who do I need to call over there at the DOT and
I'll
have
pass.
a conversation with these people? Because they're restricting law enforcement from doing their job. I mean, that's what we've come down to. They can't put up signs so that law enforcement can do their job.
I'll pass this letter down to you. She's the regional
Do
engineer.
they understand that we're not asking them to lower the speed limit?
Yes.
Just put speed, like school zone,
Yes.
Where they should be?
where they should already be?
Yep.
Okay. Pass it on down, I'll let Andy make that call.
Yeah.
Why don't we
Can I sit there and listen
why
and
don't we
watch
do
eat
this? Why don't
popcorn?
we do this? Can we reach out to the school as well and have them, some sort of letter of support that this makes sense and, you know, that these are our kids and
I can do that, yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to mention to you all is we got an email late this afternoon from our bond counsel that basically made us aware there was a change from the General Assembly this year that comes into effect. We are apparently the first municipality that this change will impact. In our bond referendum question, they basically changed the way in the structure the bond questions have to be asked on the ballot. So there's some additional language that they have to add. The biggest part of that is that we have to now include what would likely be a very unrealistic estimated interest rate based on the highest interest rate that's been obtained in bonds over the last couple of years. So if you recall the email that I'd sent you a couple days ago that mentioned something called a Safe Harbor Act from the LGC that made us assume 2 interest points higher than what we realistically think is going to be allowed. It's going to be somewhere in that range of what we've been projecting as a realistic interest rate and that safe harbor rate. It's somewhere in the middle. Chazo's here on the line. He can explain it to you in better terms than I can, where you can understand it, if you want to allow him to speak on that real fast. He's on, yeah. Chazo, you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So do y'all want me to start with the safe harbor rule or just skip that and go into the latest development? Happy to touch on both or one.
I think it's probably good for you to talk about it just so the public can hear in case they see it or have questions.
Okay, absolutely. So with regards to the safe harbor rule, this was a new rule that was put in place by the local government commission. It came into effect November of last year. And this rule goes along with the statement of disclosures that we'll have to file as part of the bond referendum. And within that disclosure, we have to estimate the total amount of interest that will be repaid over the life of the bonds based on what the LGC calls a safe harbor rule interest rate assumption. And what that assumption is based on is a nationally publicized index called the Bond Buyer 20 Bond Index, which is a compilation of various general obligation bonds that have come to market in the recent time frame with a 20-year amortization, so along the lines of what we would be considering. And so we take that interest rate, we have to take it within 25 days of today, the day that we are introducing our bond order, and then add 2% to it. That effectively gave us the starting point of as early as middle of October and as late as essentially today to determine that rate. And so the rate that we used was a 4.19% was the index. And on top of that, as Christina mentioned, you have to add 2% to that. So the interest rate that is assumed for purposes of the safe harbor rule in our statement of disclosures is a 6.19% interest rate. Obviously, that is well above what we have been assuming for planning purposes of 5%, but the LGC does require us to make that statement and equate a property tax increase to that assumed interest rate.
No, just wait, it gets worse. Just wait.
No, well,
So,
It gets worse.
yep.
So can we, that has to, in order for us to put that in there, we have to put that notification on there. We can't just let it sit there and go, oh, it's 6%. We got to say, no, it's 4%, but due to the safe harbor rule, we have to add 2%.
He hadn't even gotten to the good stuff yet.
All right.
Just let him, he hadn't even gotten to the good stuff
But
yet.
am I incorrect in saying that that doesn't need to be on there?
No, it does. So we have to report the safe harbor rule interest rate is that index plus 2%. So what the LGC is effectively wanting us to do is capture what the absolute maximum interest rate would be in their eyes on bonds, which in this instance would be 6.19%. So on that statement of disclosures, we report, here's our estimated safe harbor interest rate of 6.19%. This is what it equates to in terms of total interest cost. And this is what it also equates to in terms of the estimated property tax increase. Now, one thing that the LGC has allowed us to do on the statement of disclosures is report that safe harbor rule, but also add a second section that says, kind of irrespective of the safe harbor rule, the village has been using a separate planning interest rate of 5%, which is what we've seen in village council meetings in the past. And based on that 5% rule, or 5% assumption, this is the estimated interest cost, and this is the estimated property tax increase. And so that section of the statement of disclosures currently aligns with all of the education materials that have been prepared in terms of the assumed property tax increases. And so that is part one of the slight deviation from our property tax increased estimates that we've been working on over the past couple months. The second, sorry, go ahead.
Just wait, it gets worse.
I know, this was passed last year.
Yes, so it was, it came into effect November 1st of 2022.
And we're just learning about this now?
No, we knew about this.
That has been out there in the public. The part two is what we are just learning about.
Okay.
So part two is when the state passed its budget, 2023 budget recently, fiscal 23-24 budget recently, a part of the budget that kind of flew under the radar and got tacked on at the last minute was the state legislature added an additional level of disclosure that we have to make to the public, effectively assuming another interest rate. Now, why they did this when the LGC put the safe harbor rule in effect just a year ago is a little bit kind of hard to comprehend. But what their rule says is we have to add to the bond referendum ballot language, so what residents will read when they decide whether or not to vote in March. We have to add the estimated interest cost and estimated property tax impact, assuming the highest interest rate that has been received on a 20-year bond amortization over the past 20 years.
There you go. There you go. Go ahead. Take it over.
So,
Past 20 years?
yes. And so the LGC has provided us with that interest rate. That is a 4.34%. So look at kind of the range that we're working within, 5% planning rate we've been using, and then the 6.19% safe harbor rule that the LGC makes us put in the statement of disclosures. it's on the lower end of the spectrum. But unfortunately, what it does, and I'm sure you all are thinking this right now, is now it's going to put 3 different pieces of information out there for the public to consume, digest, and ultimately make a decision on. Unfortunately, as Christina mentioned, Arvin is the first local government in the state to have to deal with this new kind of regulation that we have to work within, since it was recently passed in the budget. And so we are still feeling it out, and plan to talk with the LGC to push back on them a little bit and see if they'll give us any leeway, given that we are well into this planning process. You all have already put time, effort, money into the education and flyer materials. Information has already been kind of disseminated to the public to some extent. And so if we just add this extra layer of information out there, it's just going to make it harder for everyone to understand, necessarily what the impact is going to be if we're reporting multiple property tax increase information to satisfy various state and local government commission requirements.
So,
Who's behind this?
The General Assembly.
I mean, is anyone usually is an individual that's pushing this, and then they get.
It's already
the excitement.
passed.
I know, but
It passed and it goes into effect December 31st this year.
I understand
Like,
that.
why is it not, fiscal year next year?
so we do have to list this in the bond question, so it is something y'all need to be familiar with. I have requested our bond counsel to request a meeting with the LGC so they can understand the implications that this is going to be on us now, mid-project. Is it going to do any good? Probably not, because the bill went into effect. This section becomes effective December 31st, so.
So the GO bonds that were just on the recent
didn't have to
ballot
do it.
didn't have to do it?
Nope.
Because there were 3, there were, I think,
Mecklenburg County, Huntersville just did some. Nobody had to do it, and you would have thought that somebody would have said, hey, guys, maybe, you should know this is coming and be prepared for it, because, again, we have 3 different pieces of information. Chazo said it great earlier. The left hand's not talking to the right hand, so the LGC is saying we've got to do one number. The General Assembly is saying we have to do a totally different number. We are trying to tell the public what the realistic number is going to look like. So now we've already been saying certain numbers, so we look like a bunch of ding-dongs, sorry, but it's true. And then everything is now going to be thrown up all over the ballots. So, our question, I ought to get like 3 pages worth of questions, like words that I can explain exactly what is happening. This is not good. I'm just saying, because we can't move forward until we figure out what are we actually supposed to put on there. What numbers are we supposed to be telling the public? Like, why should the public trust us now? Because we've been telling them the realistic number. We knew about the safe harbor number. That was in disclosures. That wasn't really going to be a big deal because it wasn't going to happen, and it wasn't going to be on the ballot. Now everything has to be on the ballot, but it's like, what actually has to be on the ballot?
Well,
This is bad.
We do have the number. It's the 5.344% based on what.
But that's what the General Assembly says. So the LGC is giving us a different number.
Chazo, can you speak on that real fast?
Yeah, so the General Assembly just gave the direction that we have to pick the highest interest rate over 20-year amortization over the past 20 years. The LGC has taken that direction, gone back through their files of all the sales that they've seen over the past 20 years, and did give us the number of 5.344% to use for that calculation that'll make its way into the bond ballot question.
So then do we still have to do the safe harbor and the disclosures?
Yes, because that is a different part of the application and bond documentation process.
So how confusing can that be?
Exactly.
We are absolutely, we're giving 3 totally different lines of communication on an interest rate. And not one of them, and there's only one of them that's fairly precise.
I certainly, I agree with your concerns and questions. We have the same thoughts and feelings that we have relayed and will continue to relay to the LGC, both just from our own perspective and as well as on the village's behalf, to see if they can kind of grant us any leeway or grandfather this referendum in so that we don't have to change things up mid-process to appease, the legislature that's putting something in place
For a grandfather.
2 months before the actual referendum takes place.
So what we have been, the numbers that we have been, that currently that council has been working off of is a 5% interest rate, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so the one that the General Assembly is telling me is what, 5.3?
5.344.
Okay, so a 0.344% more is what we have to disclose on the ballot.
Yes, and so with that number, that interest rate number, what we will have to disclose on the ballot is, one, obviously the par amount of the bonds that we're asking for, so either the 15.35 or the 5 million, that's not in question. The second number will need to be what is the total estimated cumulative cost of the bond. So that's the principal repayment plus the interest. The interest would be calculated at that 5.344%. And then the last bit of information is the estimated property tax increase for each $100,000 of property tax value based on the assumed principal and interest payments at that 5.344%.
So what's the chance you have our handy dandy little spreadsheet pulled up that we can look and see what that looks like?
I have it handy, so if I'm able to share my screen here, I will show you all what we are looking at. If you all will let me know when you're able to see this, that would be great.
We can see it.
It's going to be a
Okay.
latte and a Danish.
Yeah, maybe a latte and a
So
egg biscuit.
Yeah.
I will show you over here on the left side of my screen, column M, which I have highlighted. Right now, I have our current planning rate of 5% in there. And so this is what we've been kind of operating under and focusing on to date.
Yep.
And so you'll see on the roads or transportation side of things, that's 4.75 cents, and then another 2.75 cents 3 years later for a total of up to 7.5 cents. On the park side, 3.25 cents out of the gate, and that's sufficient.
Across the board, okay. So
So-
if we change it to 5.344, what's that look like?
So the one nice thing, and it's happened to work out in our favor, is effectively the property tax increases that we've been looking at on the 5% case are sufficient, say for this first year where we're $23,000 short, to cover the 5.344 interest rate scenario. So it just happened to work out in our favor in this case, but I think it still doesn't detract from the fact that we're putting out different interest cost numbers and interest rate assumptions to the public. So from the property tax impact, I think we're safe to stay put based on our 5% assumption or 5.344% assumption, but we still will need to report the estimated interest cost of the total interest repaid over the 20 years at that 5.344% rate.
Okay. So, I mean, okay. I know this is not you doing it. To me, it doesn't make any sense to report a number that's probably not very realistic, but okay.
But, I know the answer to the first question I have is like, okay, so if we get this approved with all of this that we have to present, we always talked about we've inflated the numbers of the bond, do we have to spend that much? Or maybe we just curtail it down to, you know what, we're going to, at this interest rate, if it goes wonky and we have to approve that.
It didn't change anything in terms of what the property tax is going to go
Tax
up.
impact's the same.
It's the same. So it's a moot point. And even the 5%, nobody thinks that it's really going to be at that point anyway. And we don't think that the projects are going to cost what we have them estimated at. So I think it's more now, this makes me happier. It still doesn't make me happy, everything that we need to put I think it's going to confuse a lot of people, but we need to know what number we need to be talking about because we look like a bunch of ding-dongs.
No, I think I think we sit with the number that's in this spreadsheet and explain the other two. I don't know why we can't go with one of the other two instead of having to explain three numbers instead of two, if that makes sense.
We could go ahead and make the advertising pieces reflect this 3.4%, and pending the bond council review, maybe put a little asterisk disclaimer to say something to the degree of, this assumes a higher interest rate than we anticipate receiving, more likely around 5%, which will reduce the overall. We could do something like that.
I mean, we're gonna have to do something. We're gonna have to explain this.
That would be, what Christina said is exactly what I would put on there. Just go with this percentage because that's what we're bound to by law. And it's not changing the tax impact, so it doesn't really matter. And just put a little disclaimer on there that this is what the state requires, but this is most likely not what we're gonna end up getting locked in at. And then we only have to explain the LGC.
Do we really have to do all those
thing.
projects? Because
The projects aren't gonna cost, I mean, again, it doesn't affect what the
doesn't
property
affect the tax rate.
at all. It stayed the same. I thought it was gonna go up.
0.34%.
listen, we have a hard enough time explaining some of the basic stuff that's going on in our town, let alone this financial, that, and somehow getting it out to the community and having them understand it is, I mean, this is going to be very confusing.
Oh, no, I know, that's the whole point.
So does everybody want to just go ahead and go through with the 5.34?
I just want to make sure that that's going to be the final number. I don't need somebody coming back in January being like, oh, hey, guess what? Ha ha, just kidding. We're going to now make it 6.21 or whatever the other number was. I mean, Chazzo, that's really what I want to know. I mean, we really need to know, again, left hand, right hand. At the end of the day, is the LGC good with us saying whatever number the General Assembly has said that we need to say?
Yeah, I will certainly firm that up with the LGC just to make sure that we're not, changing it again for the third or fourth time.
Yeah.
If 5344 is what we're locked in at, then we're going to hold them to it. That's what we're going with. And
Okay, and then
Yeah,
you'll obviously work with Christina and Austin about exactly what verbiage has to be on the ballot, and then how we need to be explaining this.
yes, we will work with Christina and Austin as well as y'all's bond counsel to make sure that we're covering all of our bases, getting the information distributed and put together properly to make it clear what our assumptions are, what the impacts are, all the while checking the boxes to satisfy the recent development in the state legislature as well as the safe harbor rule.
Okay,
Real quick, Jazzo,
thank you.
number one from cancel, pending him getting that number, or is that what everybody wants to go with for the educational pieces? Are there any objections to
I
that?
mean, yes, I do. I think we have to.
Okay. Jazzo, the introduction of the bond orders, I think, are on this agenda, and we actually did something at the last meeting, I can't remember what it was, but we didn't include that language in the bond order when we originally did the introduction. Does that have to go back before cancel, or can we just do that in the final bond order in December?
So the bond orders the introduction of the bond order just talks about the par amounts, so the 15.35 and the $5 million. It doesn't touch on assumed interest rates, assumed property tax impacts. So nothing is going to, need to be pushed out or to another meeting or slow up the process from what's happening here. What's transpired with the state legislature is related to the bond questions, which will be considered in December.
Thanks.
Okay, everybody good? I mean, as good as good can be? Yeah, okay. All right, Chazzo, thank you. If you can find that stuff out, and I'd still like to get a call scheduled with the LGC.
Yes, absolutely. I have an email into them, and we will get something on the calendar.
Thank you.
Talk with them.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you all for having me tonight.
Thanks. Where are we at?
behind the preposition. Christina's still working on her
Okay.
list.
I don't have anything further.
Do you want to talk about that in community engagement thing
Community engagement.
on March
Oh,
26th?
yes, sorry, thanks for the reminder. I had a community engagement training course that I signed up for with the School of Government. It's in February, or maybe in
It's
January.
in March.
March,
I
sorry.
mean, yes, it's in March.
It's a day that y'all have the same day y'all have a joint meeting with PRG. And it's really, the training course is how councils and elected bodies engage the community to have more public participation. Signed everyone up thinking it would be a good course. So there's two options. Either one, you can reschedule the PRG meeting if this is of interest to you all, or you can just limit that meeting to exactly 1 hour and make sure you stick to the 1 hour limit on the PRG meeting.
I mean, I think we should definitely do the community engagement thing. We keep talking about how do we get more people engaged, so I definitely think we should do that.
That's a given. The question is,
Yeah.
do we limit the PRG or reschedule?
I think an hour's good. I think that's fine. So then we'll have 9 o'clock PRG, then 10 o'clock community engagement.
And if you change your mind later, we have plenty of time to do that.
Okay.
And it should already be in y'all's calendar, because I did send you calendar invites for it.
March 26th. I don't,
March 26th at 10 o'clock.
did you send us an invite?
Yeah, I did.
have one.
Do you? Oh, I don't. Okay.
There's also training.
You weren't invited.
Yeah, you're on
I'm
there.
engaged enough.
You're on there for some reason.
Is there a training?
No, that's it. That's it.
Okay,
Oh, my God.
That's all I have.
gotcha.
Keep picking hard. Okay.
All right, thank you. Moving on, planners report.
The only thing that I want to give you guys an update on is that when more bond improvements have began or underway. So we did get that agreement signed, got everything lined up. Everything goes well, we should have the pond converted and roads paved within the next month for them. So finally glad to get that off our plate. But other than that, that's the only thing I got to update you guys on.
Any questions, council? No. All right, Rosa report.
The roundabout is complete.
Yay!
Hey.
And we did not have any cost overruns.
None?
And we put how much
What are we
back
doing
into
with
the
that?
kitty?
I know I was gonna say, our $14 million?
We did,
Oh, that's right.
We did
Correct
budget-
yourself, you just said that
we did budget for
I'm kidding, the
$200,000.
non-existent.
We budgeted for $200,000 overrun, so Jill's gonna correct her handy dandy tracker, and we'll give you an update at a subsequent meeting.
By the way, how's that interest going? Are we making good interest on our money?
We are, and I'm happy to put that on the next agenda and give you a report.
Perfect. We'll keep it to the short meeting.
We actually look at that
That
monthly.
meeting's
That's
gonna
it?
be long, by the way.
We look at he's talking about the interest earnings and how we changed our allocations. We look at it monthly. We are actually on projection, just as we intended to be, so
Terrific.
she'll,
So
she'll
will
put,
that 200,000 that we had budgeted for overruns, that'll go back into Powell bill?
yes.
Oh, so then we really won't be in a deficit 10 years?
Yeah, we did already adjust the tracker. We're in a very small deficit in the next couple of years, but it's really, really minuscule
Even with that 200, or not with that 200?
with the 200.
No, I'm pretty sure we don't have a deficit for like at least 3 or 4 more
Yeah.
years
Three or-
because
yeah.
of putting it back.
With throwing that 200 back in the pot? Oh, okay.
But it was small even still. It's like she said, 3 or 4 years, but it was a very small amount.
Anything else on roads? Any questions? Moving forward, deputies report.
It's not her birthday.
Wait, whose birthday is it?
Happy birthday again.
Oh, it's
Christine's
Christine's
birthday.
birthday.
Actually, this month is really good. I went through all the long reports, and other than a couple frauds are on increase right now. It's just the time of year. We've had a couple identity thefts, but other than that, no car B&Es. Nobody's house got broken into unless they didn't report it. So we're doing pretty good with that. I mean, I don't think there's really anything unless anybody has any questions.
Today I ran into a constituent at CVS who has the home that is on the corner of the roundabout, the new one. Said that what's been happening, there is a matte-colored old sort of Dodge Charger that's doing drifting, burnouts in the middle of the day, just to give you an awareness.
And where, the roundabout?
The roundabout.
new
yeah.
one or which
The new one, the new one.
Up here on?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we had, I can't remember if it was here in Marvin when they got the first one completed or another one, they had somebody doing that and they rolled their car.
Oh, wow.
Karma sucks.
We felt really bad. We felt really bad for them, but yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that.
Just keep aware.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, planning board report.
On October 17th, we went continually through the Marvin Development Ordinance. As dry as some of the information is, I got to tell you, you start learning all sorts of things. Like, for example, if you have a home that is in a community like Sun City or even the Villages down in Florida, and I have some friends that live there, you don't own the property in front of your house, you own right underneath it. And the driveway, the sidewalk from your home, the front door to the driveway is all common ground. I didn't have any idea about that. So it's really interesting. So if you to give a plug
You
here.
only say, I own only what's under my house.
Under the house, yeah.
I don't believe it.
I mean, it's just to give it a,
Not here.
what I'm getting at is it's interesting, so,
Okay, so nothing else?
nothing else.
Any other questions? All right. PRG board.
That's me. Okay, so we didn't have a ton. We were going over some events, but then also the ideas of the Heritage Park at Marvin. We're just going to kind of put a pin in that until the neighborhood gets developed and we kind of see what's going on within the village at that point. So we don't really have many ideas except for trying to remove the invasive species that are growing there now. So I guess, Hunter, that would be a question for Jones Homes, is once they close, would they be okay with us going in there and starting to remove some of that invasive species in that park area?
I don't see why not. I mean, once they close, they can, like I said, it's dedicated per their rezoning approval, would be dedicated on their final plat. We would probably have to accept the land through a special warranty deed, but even until we accept it, I don't see what the issue would be for us to go in and do some of that work.
Will you
But
just check with
yeah.
them and just double check? And then, so do that, and then they were talking about maybe having it as like an educational piece, like taking a lot of pictures and then having some of the placards, like, made like, this is what this invasive species is. So having it more of like an educational type park, but still very natural. So, but kind of working out some suggestions, but they didn't really have anything until we get further down the road with the development. That's it.
All right, moving on, event planning report.
Friendship Tree's going on right now. It'll run, we'll only accept drop-offs the week of November 27th. We're about halfway through the tags and the names we were allotted. So you can feel free to come down, take a tag, fill out a form, sign up, and help a kid out in Union County this holiday season. Next event up is the tree lighting on December 9th. It'll be at the barn at Eford Park from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the afternoon. Santa will be there, pictures, some choir will be singing, the band will be playing, we'll have some live music, some hot chocolate, coffee, cookies. It'll be a good time. And we are. The band and the choir will be doing 2 separate shows, 4 songs each. And for Marvin Day, got y'all's report, not a lot's changed. I emailed that over to y'all just a minute ago. And you can see the summary there. We have had several of our commitments have went ahead and paid, which is great. You can see that shown. We definitely appreciate, on this report, you guys are very specific. That makes life very easy for making these reports. So we'll just keep it up and have more to report next time.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Coffee with council.
That was me.
Who'd you have?
Nobody.
Nobody?
No. That's it.
Okay.
So what did nobody
Crickets.
say?
Huh?
What did nobody say? Nobody said nothing. All right, moving on, consent agenda. I'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have no public hearings. Unfinished business, discussion of Bonds Grove, Waxaw Marvin intersection interim solutions.
So that would be me. At the last meeting we had, or maybe the last couple of meetings, we had some residents request some interim solutions at Bonds Grove, Waxaw, Marvin. Y'all had discussed kind of asking Waxaw and Union County to pony up for some off-duty coverage and also to look at what NCDOT would do in the interim. You can read the response that I got from DOT, but in short, there's no real viable option. The project the project is slated to start in 2028. They did say they could move that up 1 year based on trying to expedite some things, but there's no real viable option of a four-way stop, a stoplight, any of that stuff. You can read that response as to why, but basically, it's going to take time to get the right-of-way acquisition for a stoplight or any of the four-way stops, turn or not, no turn, and they just didn't feel like it was a viable option at all. So I have sent an email over to Waxhaw and Union County to request financial assistance from their respective boards to provide coverage from off-duty. I don't know when they're going to do that. I did ask them specifically to take it to their board. So I would say by next month, we might have an answer back from them. I also asked DOT if they would be willing to put some type of flashing light at the very least to warn commuters of the approaching stop sign on both ends. They didn't commit to either way, one way or another. They said they would look into it, so just wanted to let y'all know.
So what if we just got some flashing red lights and throw on the top of it?
I mean,
I'm not kidding. Like, DOT's gonna come out and be like, we can't do that? Be like, oh, our bad, sorry.
I can ask them if we can do an encroachment agreement for that, or if you just wanted.
I mean, I kind of just want to do it. Ask for forgiveness.
Okay.
Christina doesn't love that.
Well, the thing is, you gotta run power to this or solar.
Solar.
And just flashing lights?
Well, that was somebody's suggestion.
How's that gonna?
They just want people to know there's a stop sign there, because apparently it's not.
There's only one stop sign at that intersection, that everybody stops at.
No.
No, it doesn't help the traffic at
it's
all,
a-
so it's a waste of
Yeah.
money and effort. It's just,
It's a huge sightline issue problem there. That's the big problem. It's just sightline is an issue. If we could work with the people that live there to maybe cut back some of the trees or whatever, the low-hanging stuff to give a better sight line, that would be the only improvement we could do to it, since they can't put a traffic light in for 2.5 years. I don't know why
we
it
could-
takes so long to get a traffic light put
So-
up, but
We could also approach the newly elected neighboring town if they would want to be interested in participating in having officers on that corner.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
There's new people coming in Waxhaw,
Yeah.
and
Christina's asked, so-
we've had zero support when it comes to officers that were, and, you know, they care about safety and all that. We'll see how much they do, because I can tell you the majority of the cars coming from there I'm gonna say it's really from Waxhaw.
Yeah.
I did send an email over to their manager on November 2nd. I'll be more than glad to email it to you all if you want to follow up with the elected officials as well and request it from them. But
I think we should wait until everybody gets sworn in, and we'll start with their new board.
It's a starting point, and they have to look at that as their community just as much as ours, given where that's how they're escaping their area is in that corner, a lot of people, and I don't know what the count is there.
so I'll put this on the agenda for December if I have an update. If not, it'll be January.
Have we talked to the sheriff's department to find out what their availability looks like? Because the 7 to 9 shift you said was not looking very,
Yeah, I did
viable.
speak with him. He said he thought it would be fine.
he did.
And,
Yeah.
and maybe we can start that not year-round, but just during school year. Because I think school is really where it gets affected during the school year. We can say the summer, you know, let's not plan for that, regardless if we get support from Waxhaw or not. But I think originally that's what we did here, and then we went year-round. I don't personally think it's going to delay it. I think it's all going to be based on when 16 is widened. We should probably get finished before that, I would imagine.
Well, that was supposed to be happening right now when I first got on council, so I wouldn't hold your breath
Well,
that.
apparently we have some secret. I got a call from Wesley Chapel Mayor saying that we have an in with the state somehow because we got our roundabouts done so fast. And and she was hearing from a resident saying that, but she knows it's been over 10 years since that I've known about that, so.
All right, well, let's gather some more information. We'll wait to hear back from Waxhaw. I'm not ready, listen.
I just forwarded that email to y'all as well if you feel like reaching out. But otherwise, I'll reach back out in December, see if I hear anything. If they hadn't been sworn in yet, I'll wait until January.
Yep, that'd be good. Thank you.
But at least we're aware of it, we know, and I think if nothing else, we start with some sort of program that over the school, when they're in school. All right, anything else? Any other questions? Moving on, Village Hall Dry Pond update.
While he's walking up real fast, Mr. Mayor, if you recall this dry pond plans, they're actually in your agenda packet. He put the plan in your agenda packet. This was one of those ones that we talked about a couple of times where we talked about the words 30%. These were the 30% plans that the company provided to us. So when we put these bids out, I had reminded you all that we may not receive a lot of bids based on the fact that they're not 100% construction plans. We put it out there to see what we would get. We put it out to, I think, 3. I know I had put it out to 1. They decided not to bid on it. I think you put it out to 2, and we got 1 bid in. So we're struggling trying to find quotes. What he's got before you is the 1 quote that we did receive. I just did read the language that he had put in here to request direction from you all, and one of the options is to continue seeking additional quotes. I don't know what else we can do to continue to seek additional quotes, so I don't know if y'all have any suggestions. We've kind of exhausted our efforts, but you can.
Yeah, and I will say I just had some movement recently over the last few days. I have another company that, after reaching out to them several occasions, I finally heard back from them, and they do intend to provide a quote. It may be another week before I receive that, but that at least would be an additional quote to compare to the first quote.
But these are kind of numbers I guess we should expect to see in the upwards of 100,000.
so just so y'all are aware, because I know you're all just looking at big numbers here, but there's a substantial amount of stuff that you won't see underground here. There's a gigantic concrete retention tank that goes underneath this thing for the overflow, and they're using 18-inch reinforced concrete conduit to get it from there down to the catch basin over here, which is also reinforced concrete pipe. So it's fairly substantial material. It's not, just a hole in the ground with some plants in it. It's a pretty sizable project. These numbers from from what I'm looking at are probably pretty realistic. So we may be able to do, save a little bit here and there, but not.
And did we have all this on the list? I don't remember going through all these things on the list, or is this something that they're just recommending?
Based on the plans that we provided them, that's what they recommend.
Now, I'm not familiar with rain garden soil. That's something I would have to educate myself on. That seems like it's pretty costly. I'm not sure what the difference is.
I'm going to get into the rain garden soil business.
Yeah. But as far as, exporting soil off-site, we might be able to keep that on-site, save some money, put it next door for use for that future development. We may end up hauling it off in the end, but I don't know. And there is that option. Sod repair, I think we can probably handle that in-house rather than them doing it. So we could save a little bit of money here and there. Maybe be able to save $15,000, $20,000 on this out of the $131,000 if we pick it apart. But I'd like to see what this other guy is gonna, compare the two and see where we go from there. I mean, the only other option is if we go and we spend the other $100,000, isn't that what McAdams wants, to do the 100% and then go out to bid? So,
and I think we're going to have some legal issues. We've got a published bid. We didn't open them all at the same time, and then you get a new bidder that can look at that and submit. I think you need to either look at accepting this one or rebidding at a time, and that may be when you have the 100%.
We have the right to do that only because we only have one bidder, right?
Yeah, you could waive the 3-bid response and accept the one, but I don't really think you can have an open bid, let the other person see that bid and come in a week later. That's because you're supposed to open them at the same time. And I appreciate trying to get more to see what they're going to look like, but I think we're going to have problems with that.
What's the timeline on when this needs to be completed, do we think?
we don't have a timeline that it needs to be completed, but I can tell you this, if with it being an El Nino year, that means that excess moisture is a high possibility. So if we get a bunch of rain, like we saw a few years ago when the trail flooded down here, we were pumping water. If we get that kind of rain this year, it could be an issue that we're going to have to prepare for. And even at best, they wouldn't get started on a project like this, of this magnitude, for at least a month to 2 months if they wanted to do it.
I was going to say, this isn't going to help us this year.
It isn't going to really, and they probably, if we do get the rain, they won't be able to do a project anyway. So more than likely, this is not going to happen until spring.
So I say we just put it out for rebid. Chaplain, do you feel good about that?
I do, and you would also have the 100% of the construction contracts, but.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Would you have more?
So the council only approved us to go to 30% construction drawings. So y'all could allow us to go back to contract with McAdams to do that rest of the 100%. But that's going to be another, $30,000 or $40,000.
No way. It's not going to change these prices.
It's not, but the 30% does give more specific specifications as to what the contractor is bidding on, whereas with the 30%, we're giving them a little bit of flexibility to say what exactly they're going to do in the project.
And how much is that going to cost?
To get it to 100%.
Yeah.
I want to say they told me when we were looking at it several months ago, it was around $60,000, and I think we had already spent maybe 20 to 30.
Nope, I'll go out there and dig a hole myself. That's ridiculous.
So the council decided to do the 30% drawings and bid that based on the fact that we knew conceptually the 30% would cover roughly what we're looking for, and we will allow that contractor to use their discretion to bid on what they thought would close that gap. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, but absolutely not. That's ridiculous.
Yes, you could just rebid it, wait another time when you think you're going to get a better response.
Do we need to rebid it because this guy is slow getting his bid in?
Well, I think,
Rebid it overall.
yeah.
Because he gave this guy the information weeks ago. He's just been dragging his feet getting the second bid in. They were both given the opportunity at the same time. This one came in, and then this other guy's just been dragging his feet.
Yes.
He
because-
probably
yes.
didn't meet the deadline, and then also the other, you have the bid, it's public now.
Yeah, I
So then
mean,
you keep,
Okay, so
because if I'm the first bidder, I'd be very upset if I lost by.
yes, we're going to rebid it because I'm not going to accept that as my only option.
right.
So, yeah.
Well, can we put a,
We always put a deadline on it.
I know we put a deadline, but I'm saying, because we need at least 3 bids. Can we ask that? I know, I mean, and I'm not comfortable even, well, obviously not with 1 bid, I'm not comfortable, but
We'll send it back out. We didn't do this like a formal bidding process, because honestly, we didn't think it was gonna be this much. So we'll do it more formal this time. We'll put it back out, and we'll get some more information back to you all.
That makes more sense. But at least with this, we have some kind of an idea of where we're gonna be looking at budgetarily.
okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you, Dave.
He has the next
Who's
one
up
too.
next too, okay. Thank you for that. Marvin Eaton Park Internet Service Update.
Yes, so there's been some interest in adding internet service to Marvin Eaton Park. This would provide or give an opportunity to install security cameras there at the park. Thoughts have been to install 1 or 2 around the barn, maybe inside, 1 outside or at the playground area. And then potentially another camera or 2 down at the Public Works Maintenance Facility. There was a question about what it would take to potentially get Wi-Fi service to a portion of the park. That could be used by residents and visitors. I reached out to, this is a little confusing, I provided you 2 quotes. The first quote from Windstream was actually reached out by our IT contractor for the village prior to my joining the village. So that information, I was not aware of that quote until the last minute, but I had reached out to the other provider, Spectrum, met them on site, told them what we wanted, so the quote they provided is pretty spot on. I've since been in communication with the Windstream representative. They've updated those numbers just a little bit. They're a little higher than what was provided to our previous, the previous quote based on what we really, when we narrowed down what we were looking for there. So those 2 quotes gives you an idea. There's small installation cost. There's a difference between the fiber optic option as well as the second option of coax. Coax is basically broadband. It's the most widely used type of internet service around, used in residential neighborhoods, and we'll operate our cameras if we were to move in that direction, we'll do just fine. The only difference is it is a shared network, which means at times it could be potentially overloaded with the camera systems. You may not get quite the, I've been told, not quite the same resolution, but a fiber optic version it's a dedicated line just to, for a single customer, which much stronger, and it would be a much more reliable service, but the coax is just fine, quite frankly.
So this is for a camera system and internet, or just internet?
what you've got is for Windstream, it's just the internet Wi-Fi service, and then as well as internet service to the park that we could purchase our own cameras and have them installed.
So $700 a month just to get internet at the park.
Well-
That's the spectrum. If you flip over to the last couple pages, you'll see the Kinetic Business. It's $330 a month.
Where is that at?
It's the last two
Okay.
pages.
So can we all agree that Spectrum's numbers are crazy and ridiculous? And then the Windstream fiber optic quote at $12,000 is ridiculous. So I'm fine if these numbers at the Windstream Kinetic Business at $329 are accurate.
And that's the numbers that changed a little bit. It's actually $399.98 a month.
What went up?
$399.98. I asked for fiber service, and they quoted me the broadband fiber service, which I haven't gotten full details on this. That's the representative I've been trying to reach out to as late as today to get more detailed information. But the quote he provided to our previously does not match what we have here. But then again, I think it was just I got more detailed in what we were looking for. We're looking for the Wi-Fi. We're looking for the.
What are we getting that I'm not getting at home? Because this is 3 times what I pay at home.
I know, that's what I don't understand.
I don't
I'm like,
understand. What are we getting
my-
extra?
my
Just
cable,
screwed because
my
we're a
long
government entity?
distance-
Or, I mean, because I'd like to know
yeah, my
what we're
cable, my
getting.
long distance, and my internet at home are $279.
Yeah, I mean.
Through Spectrum. So
Yeah.
what's the difference?
I don't know the exact answer to that. I would imagine there's no services directly in there, so there's going to be some cost installing those services. So
Yeah, but okay, that's fine. I'm okay with maybe some higher cost, but then it's $690 a month? Like, what the
recurring cost.
what the
Yes,
fork is
recurring
that?
those are the quotes they came back with.
Let's take a step back. Why are we doing this?
So that we have internet and we have cameras.
For what, or just cameras?
Cameras.
Cameras and
It's really just
security,
cameras.
yeah.
No, and it's more than that. It's so that we have Wi-Fi at the park too.
And why
So-
do we need it?
Because we've had challenges in the past of having meetings or anything else down there, because we have no Wi-Fi, we have nothing down there.
It's a park. You're supposed to go
I know,
and just
but-
chill and not have necessary meetings. Well, you can,
It would more than likely enhance the park rentals if there is Wi-Fi there.
Listen, I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of money on it, because anything that we have more than what we have now is good. So I'm okay with the $329. I'd really like to know what the additional $70 is, because I was pretty good with that number.
Yeah, I'm just like,
And I can get that information for you. Also, in that quote from Windstream, it's itemized. So if you decided you didn't want to go with the option of Wi-Fi service, it would lower that cost by, I think it was $180.
well, we can buy a Wi-Fi router. We can have Mike install a Wi-Fi router down there that we own, which you can buy at Best Buy for $200. I mean, we don't have to pay them to rent theirs. That's the get you. I mean, that really, seriously, and their routers are crappy compared to what you can buy at Best Buy. But what I'm saying is that it's a gimmick, and I quit doing it myself. I've got my own because I have a better piece of equipment and it's cheaper.
So to kind of piggyback off what the mayor had mentioned, staff initially brought this forward to merely provide internet connection for camera services, and it kind of evolved into this Wi-Fi accessibility to the public. So if y'all want us to move forward with the Windstream, I would want to get the actual contract in hand and put it back on the consent agenda with a not-to-exceed amount, because we didn't even budget for this to start with. We'll have to do a budget amendment. So if y'all want to proceed with it, we can. If you would like to kind of take a step back and go with the original plan as just providing internet connection for cameras, we can look at an alternative option that's a lot cheaper, using cell phone coverage. It's really up to you all as to what you're.
If we get just internet, we can, like I said, we can do our own Wi-Fi. We can buy a Wi-Fi router, plug it in, we have Wi-Fi. It's just that simple. So I don't see why we need to pay for the extra. Just get internet so that we can run the cameras. I mean, seriously, that's all we need down there. If we want Wi-Fi down there, we can put a Wi-Fi router in and get it ourselves. One-time cost, done.
Okay, we'll get Mike on that.
If Andy says it's true, then it must be
Well, I mean,
true.
it's,
We'll get Mike on it, because I'm not technologically savvy
Super
enough to
simple.
know what that entails, so we'll have to get Mike on.
Yeah, and I asked for, I went into it asking for everything, the whole package.
Right.
So that we could then drop back if we decided not to.
let's go with
Once
as
we-
cheap as we can with enough speed to be able to run our cameras effectively, and then we'll go from there.
Right.
Because, yeah, that's,
Okay, we've got our direction. We're
Okay,
good.
great, thank you. Next up, consider adoption of the resolution authorizing purchase of vehicle through state contract.
Okay, so in our last meeting, I had provided you with a state contract quote for a Ford F-350. There was some discussion, and it was requested that I go back and get a quote for a Ram 3500, both with diesel engines, and then the ability to attach a snowplow to the truck. The quotes I've given to you in the hard copy are the most updated quotes that I've received. They're pretty close, and you know, I think the only difference is the type of winter package that that Ford and Ram offers. Ford is more of a, I think it's they get everything ready to hook a snow blade up if we go that route, whereas there's no really attachments to the Ram. It's just all of the technologies that go along with it, the switches and all of that. So it's really, one way or another, we're gonna, if we decide to do any kind of snow plowing, we're gonna have to add a little more to the truck to make that happen. That'd be a blade, and then, you know, the electronics for a Ford and or just the hookup for.
this number you wrote in here is the actual price, though?
It is. The one I wrote in there, I just took what the options they provided, and I took out 2 or 3 or 4 of the options that have they don't bring any value, and it's just a few $100s less than what they quote.
I guess it comes down to, what do you prefer, a Ford or a Dodge?
What about warranties?
I'm sorry, what?
What about warranties?
Warranties at,
Most are 5-year, 50.
yeah,
We should ask, because that could be a differentiator.
I do like the,
If you got a bumper-to-bumper, 7-year bumper-to-bumper, 5-year whatever, and the other one has 3-year
And
bumper-to-bumper.
the only thing I'll say is, and I was probably the one that said diesel because of pulling power and stuff and noticing the difference, but how often are you actually, would we guess we are pulling?
every day.
we will be hauling, we'll be pulling a landscape trailer every day. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then you'll be adding weight to it with water tanks and brine tanks and things of those sorts.
The longevity of the diesel, too.
No, I get it. It's just that if we're just using it periodically, then maybe the diesel's not worth going to it, because you can certainly do it with the non-diesel, but if you're doing it every day, then that makes sense. And then I'm sorry, but I don't know when the last time we had snow on the ground where we had to plow it. And usually it was gone within a day. And everyone just deals with it. So there's $6,500. I'm not necessarily.
It's $250 for the Ford to put just the prep package on. That's it. It's $250.
Okay, you want to go with Ford then?
Well, I kind of like their lighting setup better too. The Dodge just has a light bar. The Ford has all 4 corners and a light bar.
Just personal experience.
So,
But I don't vote.
That's right, remember that.
Unless, John, maybe we delay this till next, we get a 3-3 split, and then I can,
John's like, I don't want to get involved. I mean,
We're gonna have to delay it because Davey's gotta go back and find out what the
What was the other price that you had for, it was like 50-something, right? 60, no, the previous price.
It was 62. It's $10,000 difference
I
for
think
the
it was the
diesel.
same thing, same options, just they just added a diesel to it.
Okay.
So David, about 10 grand.
Yes.
About 10 grand.
Okay.
So this will be,
Hold on, I'm sorry, hold on, hang on, Bob. I need to make a motion to excuse Jamie Lyon at 7:27 PM.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Enjoy.
Enjoy. Say hello.
Sorry, Bob.
I'll see you on tomorrow.
so,
Really honestly, between the two and maybe your past experience, if you were buying it, which way would you go?
That's a very good question. I've had,
We want your opinion.
my answer is really vague. Either truck's fine. I've got an experience with both brands, and they've been good vehicles in the past, so we have no preference.
Why didn't you ask me?
I know what you're gonna say.
I had experience with both too.
Poo-pooing forward.
so I'll just note real fast, it does take staff quite a bit of time to put these documents in play and to change these resolutions every time we have changes or requested additional information. So if y'all want him to come back for the warranty information, if we can just get as much as we possibly can so we're not having to bring this back continuously, it's much more helpful on staff to.
Yeah, I mean, the money's gonna be the same. I'm fine with either truck, whatever is gonna be if whichever one has the longer warranty is, at this point, is really the biggest thing. If not,
Can we
I
make
would
a
say,
motion?
if the warranties are the same, it was equal, I would say the Ford just because of the lighting package, but that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's about the only difference between the two trucks.
So we'll still have to, I think we're still gonna have to bring it back because we have to specifically say what we're purchasing. So we're gonna have to go back and change the resolution again.
Sorry
But
about
we-
that. I wish we would have thought about that warranty, though.
That's right.
Right?
So which one are we picking?
I mean,
Whatever.
we need to check out the warranty, whichever one's got the longer warranty. If they have the same, I would say with the Ford because of the light package, but that's the only advantage it has.
Okay. Just tell me I told you so. Transmission goes out.
But, I mean, we owe it to check into the warranties. If the one has a better warranty than the other, then that's the responsible way to go.
I'll bring that back at the next meeting.
That would be,
We're trying to think of a way around this because you have the state contract that has an exemption from the procurement code. We have basic dollar amounts, and we're going to try to revise this right quick on the spot. If y'all would authorize the manager to approve at a cost not to exceed $75,000, purchase under the state contract from either, she's got it written down. We just got some modifications because y'all are so close.
yeah.
You're purchasing on a state contract, that's fixed, and it's either one of these two, subject to really a little information, so we're trying to get you
And
an emotion.
I don't want to throw a wrench in this, but the state contract for the RAM is actually about almost $500 more than what I provided. What I provided was the North Carolina Sheriff's Association, so.
Well, I just revised the resolution real quick to make it a little bit more generic, and I gave a max not to exceed 75,000, so it should cover it. And then we, as a staff, can work to see what has the higher warranty, and we would go with that one, if that's okay with you all.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I will update this resolution, and Joe, I'll have it ready for you to sign by tomorrow.
Do you need anything from us?
It'll be
To make a motion, yes.
a motion to
Right, That's what I'm
approve.
saying, we need a motion.
To approve the resolution as amended.
Okay.
And it was amended to increase the amount to 75,000.
To increase the,
Basically, we made the resolution a little bit more generic, so it can work either way.
Amending the resolution to strike the term 2024 in the first sentence, 2024 Ford 350 Crew Cab with just vehicle, to purchase a vehicle, primary use for public works staff, is how that should read. And then the 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth paragraph, whereas North Carolina State Contract 070A with Piedmont Truck Center Incorporated.
It'd be Piedmont
Or ILDERTON, allows the village to purchase a vehicle not to exceed $75,000 plus tag, tax, and associated fees, which is the same which is the same state price. And then the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we would add the words behind Piedmont Truck Center Incorporated and ILDERTON, without going through Piedmont Truck Center, or that word that I just said, without going through the procurement bidding process.
And allow the town manager, upon confirmation, to pick between the Idleton or Piedmont Truck Center. So basically, you have a resolution that allows either one, but her to choose at the end. Does that make sense?
Was that whole thing the motion?
Yes, so it's a motion to approve the resolution with either Idleton or Piedmont at a cost not to exceed $75,000 for the respective Ford or Dodge in accordance with the statewide procurement contract. It's okay.
We'll figure it out.
I could be more artful, but I mean, basically you have the resolution before you, and you'll use that template to allow either the Ford or the Dodge or the respective vendors in accordance with the state contract, and the cost will not exceed $75,000, and the town manager will make the final. You're delegating the final decision to the town manager.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. So the motion is on the table. Is it okay for you?
I'll make a motion to adopt the amended resolution authorizing the purchase of a vehicle through the state contract.
Not to exceed.
Is that good?
Yep. Not to exceed $75,000.
$75,000 and to be executed by the village manager.
And the village manager's final choice from
The
either.
village manager's final choice is.
That's what we're
Yeah,
trying to do. Let her.
Per the warranty.
Yep.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Merry Christmas. Early. There you go. Got that done. All right. Moving on. Where are we at? Stop. Okay, next up is new business. Consider introduction of bond order authorizing issuance of $15,350,000 general obligation transportation bonds. Who's got that?
Basically, you have a resolution before, sorry. You have a bond order in front of you authorizing the issuance of 15.350 general obligation transportation bonds. This is for, I'm not going to read it, but it's basically for the extension or acquiring, constructing, reconstructing sidewalks, streets, trails, greenways, the whole 9 yards. It's in the very first whereas statement. And that taxes will be levied in the amount sufficient to pay the principal and interest for the general bonds. The bond order will take effect when approved by the voters on March 5th, 2024. It is a requirement for us to proceed with the GO bond on the referendum.
I don't expect any questions, but I'm going to ask anyways. Any questions from council?
No, but while we're on the topic of bonds, again, we as council need to get extremely well versed in talking about what's in the bond, what things are costing, because I think I'd like to start in December, I'd like to start scheduling individual meetings with homeowners associations, starting in January, and coming in and trying to get meetings scheduled so that we can talk about the bonds. So I would like to make that a top priority, starting at the beginning of December. And I'm happy to come in and call HOAs and try to get people scheduled. I don't know if we want to do it with full council or just one or two and maybe a staff member. Someone had approached me about trying to get the president's council together. I think that in theory that's a good idea, but at the end of the day, it's really every resident that needs to hear it. So it would, I think it would be better time well spent to just try to set up a meeting with different HOAs, or even combining a couple. Now, here's my question. Can we have those meetings here?
They're informational, right?
Yeah, as long as they're informational and neutral, you would just be providing information.
Okay. I mean, clearly people are going to know that we're in favor of it, right? I mean,
Likely, yes, because you're also sponsoring the legislation to bring it before a referendum, but you're still providing a venue to obtain the information.
and that's okay.
And that is okay.
Okay. So I would like to start doing that. So who would like to help me kind of spearhead that, Wayne? Okay. All right, so let you and I, when we're done with this, we'll pick a time and we'll start going through our list. Okay. Now, who wants to go to the meetings besides Wayne? I mean, I'm
Well,
happy to do it, but
By default, I usually go to like Firethorn, I'm usually there, but it usually conflicts with our regular meeting.
this is going to have to be a totally separate, this is just going to be a setting up a meeting and having the information. And I think, okay, here's a good question, Austin. Come December 12th, what's considered quorum? 3 and Joe?
3 and Joe is quorum, or 4 of y'all without Joe.
Oh, interesting. Okay, good.
The only thing I could maybe then recommend, because if I'm at that meeting, I'd say, hey, look, we would love to get an opportunity to get before as many residents as a council to kind of explain this. We're not going to plan to explain it in the meeting in December, but it gives you an opportunity for your own HOAs. You sit before them, or if you happen to be on their meetings, let them know that, hey, this is coming.
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure.
we'd like to.
No, I agree with that. But I think this needs to be a separately scheduled HOA
agreed.
meeting. So, and again, I'm happy to go and talk. I think at least 2 or 3 council should be there. I would like to have staff, either Christina or Jill, at those meetings, some of those meetings. Jill's
think
not
it's a good
listening to
idea.
me. Okay.
Why don't we can all agree we're here to help educate.
Yeah.
So just let's find out what we can come up
Okay.
with, and then just throw it out there who might be available.
Okay. But I do think that it is imperative that we all are very well versed in the bonds. And if we need to come in and have a couple of two-on-ones with Jill and Christina to get a little more educated, I think we should do that. But
You still talk to me about finance.
we had I would say at the candidate meet and greet, we needed to be more well-versed on what is actually in the bonds.
Right.
A lot more. And I didn't know. I had to go to Christina's office. So, I mean, all of us need to.
Good point. I think that'll be our homework before the end of the year, maybe?
Yep.
Yeah.
You do still have a motion on, we do need a motion on this before you're done.
I'm sorry. Okay, so with that, I'll make a motion to introduce the bond order authorizing issuance of $15,350,000 in general obligation transportation bonds of the Village of Marvin, North Carolina.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on. Similar topic, consider introduction to bond ordering bond order authorizing $5 million general obligation for parks and recreation bonds.
So moved.
All right, Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving forward. Consider approval of memorandum and of, did I miss something?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's number 3.
Resolution
Oh,
setting public hearing.
Sorry. Consider adoption of resolution setting public hearing on December 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m., authorizing issuance of $15,350,000 general obligation transportation bonds and $5 million general obligation parks and recreation bonds. Setting a public hearing thereon and directing publication of a notice of said public hearing.
So moved.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up, we have consider approval of a memorandum of understanding and consider adoption of resolution approving accounting, approving accounting services, cybersecurity, and technical assistance with NCLM and authorize manager to execute agreements contingent upon attorney review.
Does this cost any money?
It does not.
So moved.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. What do you got there?
Trying to help you out there, buddy.
Okay. Open topics?
Sorry,
Anyone? I have one.
I forgot one thing.
What do you got?
Back to that item that we just covered. I do need some direction from you all as to what projects you want us to consider. I'd listed a couple of things for planning and engineering. Planning and engineering for municipal service district, stormwater program, recreational park, or any other project the council desires. We would like to go.
Nobody knows what you're talking about. What are you talking about, Willis?
What you just approved,
Yeah.
it's a grant program, and I'm going to speak some because I looked at this and I know she can't speak too much as she's drinking. That is to get the grant from the league, and it's all, I didn't. You're approving the general contract template for the grant program, and it says about 3 different places that it is going to come from the league. The league's getting the money from the feds. The main obligation of the village is probably way more accounting and summarizing figures, helping make sure that the league gets everything in compliance. But with that, there will be a choice of, once you enter into the agreement, you're going to have exhibits to it as to specific scope of work for projects, and that's where she's trying to get to. So you voted to agree and accept the grant funds. Now you need to, and they aren't specified, but it'll be a cost not to exceed with the allocation. Now she's trying to get direction on which one.
MSD.
You want to do a municipal service district tax overlay study, or, sorry, I got to sneeze. Hunter, can you speak real quick?
Do you guys want, or do we want to do a more overview master plan for the Heritage District as a whole?
I would like both of those, please.
Because, like I said, we don't really, in my opinion, need to do an MSD until we have development here, and I
I would
think,
like both of those, please. Can I get both of those?
let
Not a
me
yes
phrase,
and
let me
a
phrase
no?
that. You can get both, but with this project, you can only get one.
Okay, so let's do the master plan of the Heritage District. We finally got a master plan of the Heritage District.
Master plan. Is
Yeah.
everyone all right with that?
Yeah.
Any
Master
other-
plan of the Heritage District, and then we'll start working on the MSD.
Wayne, you're all right? You guys are good?
Is that good?
Yeah, and we can see if they can add any conceptual kind of MSD kind of
Yeah,
to start that process, but more focused on the plan itself.
yeah, that could be probably a component, but it won't be as much in depth. But we can use that as a base for moving forward. All right.
We weren't allowed to say that word not so many years ago.
It's a new world.
All right. Open topics?
New old world.
Do we have any? I have one.
We can count
I
on you,
hear
Joe.
heavy sigh, and I'm sorry, I have to bring this up. On election night, I was approached by someone who works for the community shelter of Union County, helping homeless, and would like to come to speak before council. I'm not sure what specifically, and that's one of the things in my life that pulls at my heart. And, you know, homeless, how do they get there, and how you can help. So all I said is, hey, we're having a meeting tonight. I'll throw it out. It's, again, the community shelter of Union County, and possibly extending an invitation to their CEO to speak to the council. And just look at dates and times, and we can figure that out.
I think that'd be fantastic for a work session.
Yep, you're reading my mind.
Okay.
So that'd be January, but I think that would be great.
Okay, so
I'd be
we'll talk
happy to
about
have
it
them.
at the work session? which
No,
is-
I would invite them to come to the work session.
Oh, okay. January work session? Okay. We'll get the dates and I'll get you the contact info. Perfect. Okay, you guys all good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and
Meet a lot of people at election night.
I would, yeah.
It's all good.
Where did you go election night?
I was in Kensington,
He was over there with me in Kensington.
watching one of our county commissioners campaign for others. Unbelievable. That's another story.
I talked to the chairperson of the Republican Party of Union County, or Union County Republican, Allison.
Is your microphone on?
Yes. I talked to Miss Allison Powers, and I explained what was happening. She was not a happy camper. And I
What was
called
happening with what?
that county commissioners
Are endorsing.
endorsing other candidates
Yep.
within the thing. She did not think that was right. Anyway, I called her the following Monday,
Yeah.
no, Friday, and thanked her for showing up and everything.
You have an opportunity to make yourself heard at their regular meetings and just go in and say, I think that was unacceptable, because I do. But that, it is what it is. So we're good on that. I'll mention, I'll get her the information, okay? Yeah, moving on. Review of action items. Almost home.
So we have our updates for the postcard, and we're going to put a disclaimer on there with the 5.34%. Christina is going to reach out to the school about their support for speed limit signs. Andy, you've got the contact info for DOT, so have fun with that. Jill's going to work on that investment report and have it on the consent agenda at the December meeting. Christina is going to reach out to the new members of the Waxhaw Board of Commissioners and will provide an update in December. Davey and Christina are going to proceed with the truck purchase and find out the warranty information. We're going to move forward with internet at the park for the cameras, and we'll work on Wi-Fi later in-house. Christina and Davey are going to rebid the dry pond. We're going to move forward with the services to the League of Municipalities for a master plan for the MHD. And we will move forward with publishing the notice for the GO bond public hearing. That's all I have on my sheet.
Okay, any other reminders? Good to go there? Thank you. Review of Mayor Pro Kim's list. What you got?
I had it pull up early today.
A lot of this stuff is, like we talked about tonight, but we haven't finished it. Have we gotten the lighting done at the roundabout, or just the landscape?
I know they've started on it. I'm not,
Okay, I'll leave it on.
I know
there.
they left their tools down there. That's how I know they started on it.
Hopefully they're still there. Okay. Jill, did you prepare the budget amendment for $1,000 for rental equipment for the bamboo removal?
Yeah, it was on your consent tonight.
Oh, thanks. Missed that. You can complete that then. Have we figured out food for the holiday appreciation dinner?
We have.
Yes, we have.
What are we doing?
Do you want to know, or do you want to be surprised?
No, I
Surprise
want to
me.
know.
Okay, how about I surprise you with half of it?
Okay.
we have decided to use Juniper Grill, one of our Marvin Day sponsors from last year, and of course, a volunteer on our subcommittee to cater the holiday party.
Oh, good.
Yes,
We tried to do that last year.
they weren't ready, and I reached back out, and now they are.
Well,
Good.
I may have another company that may be interested in providing, like, for Marvin Day. I just talked to them today, the wine store, interested. So
In providing sponsorship money or
sponsorship and/or,
serving wine?
yeah, why not do a wine tasting? I mean, I'll ask them.
Kim,
Okay.
on my projects, I have an update.
Andy,
Jill and I have been working
I
diligently.
skipped over you. I didn't want to make you feel bad.
Diligently with Site 1. The plants are to be delivered on Thursday, the 16th, so that we can install said plants in the front of the building. So that means
And replace the dead ones in the
probably
back?
Friday I'll be plucking plants in the ground.
Oh, good. Did we get replacements for the dead ones?
We did not.
Yeah.
We'll look at that in the spring.
Okay.
We've had some issues with getting some stuff, so we're gonna
Okay.
follow up in the spring with any
Good.
missing.
Okay, are you done with your flagpole stuff?
No,
No, okay.
you can be working on that soon.
Okay. Are those your only two remaining projects currently?
I believe so.
Did we do the lights at the park that we
Oh,
approved
no,
like forever
that's
ago?
one thing that, yes,
And I need to talk to you about that.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta get that together for them.
You can check off, since we've submitted the roundabout plans to include lighting, irrigation sleeves, you can check that off.
Oh, no, that's going to stay on there till that roundabout's done. You can just put it on hold for now. I just don't want to forget about it, because that would be something I would forget about. Or I might not even be here, and it'll be a nice reminder for you guys, you know.
Yeah, we'll have to change the name of the list.
That's fine. You won't be here then either, buddy.
The name of the list reverts automatically.
Do you have a what?
Contingency agreement with McAdams?
They do not do that, so there's part of the scope of this contract that y'all just agreed with the League of Municipalities is they do grant writing services. I haven't had time to look into if the Part F would be one of those projects, but that's the intent.
Okay,
Is hopefully they could do it. If not, we'll figure out a hybrid between staff and,
okay. Should we just leave that on there until we figure it
Yeah.
out? Okay. Tullamore Phase 4 again.
You wouldn't know about it. I mean, we met with them.
With them again?
We met with them yesterday. I mean, and Jamie's not here to speak about it. Once he saw it, once again, the intent is to try to get the easement through the towns of Audrey. I will say that I did reach back out to the property manager. She did get back to me today. I mean, it was the same old, hey, I'll take this to the board, but at least she got back to me this time. But with that being said, I mean, really what Jamie and I took out of it was that we're going to work over the next month on trying to secure this easement through the towns of Audrey property. If we do hit another wall with that, then we will come back to council probably at the December meeting and discuss options of either bringing it up to Rocky Hollow as kind of a trailhead for the time being. But if we do secure that easement, then it still is an option to still bring it up to Rocky Hollow, kind of have a T where you have like a trailhead per se. But we are working on that easement. But Amber Meadows is not interested in granting that easement.
Okay. Did we execute the contract with Sunshine Construction for the weather vane installation and barn repairs?
we're working on it. They're a little bit slow to respond.
Okay. Blue Ridge Trail Works for the construction of the Marvin Creek Connector?
Same thing.
Okay. No examples of strategic plans we've gotten yet?
No.
Okay. Just make sure I didn't miss it in my email. Okay, that's it. I have not reached out to the owner of Southern Spirit Sign yet.
I have an update as far as the annexation reform. I think it's going to have to be where we invite Mr. Brody, and he did talk about local type agreements for annexation. Where that stemmed from, but he doesn't believe there's much support for it at the state level round. But he's willing to come in and talk. So I think whether it's a work session we bring him into or something like that, and figure out which work session works best for him.
Let's maybe throw out February. I mean, that gives us enough time to prep for it, gives him enough time to try to be available.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, I'll just look at the date, what we have. When is February, Austin?
After January, before March?
I know that.
She's correct.
She always is.
It should be scheduled for February 29th.
29th, okay.
Ooh, it's a long month.
It's a leap year. Okay.
You got very excited there.
I'll reach out to his assistant, which is his daughter, and see if we can get him on that schedule and get prepped for that. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
One more item, and then I'm just thinking about it, because this was at our last WUMA. We talked about,
We should probably put a WUMA update on here.
yeah, we probably should, because it's really open topic.
That'll help
Me.
jog old man Polino's memory over here.
No, but I was just thinking that they talked about getting our state representatives, both Todd Johnson and David Willis, and have it a multi-community type meeting talking about this de-annexation and where it's going and why they're doing it and what was the reason behind it, but actually hosting it, I think, at Forest Hills.
That's what you told me. The last I had heard, the de-annexation was off the table because they had negotiated with the state legislature, but we can double check on that for you if you like.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that, so. Okay.
I'll double check on that.
If it's off the table, then fine, but otherwise, I would just like to hear from him. You know what, it wouldn't be a bad thing
Hear from him anyway.
to hear from him anyway and have a place like Forest Hills host something. I think they certainly have the ability to host that, and you get multiple communities coming in, so, for what it's worth. So at the next meeting, I'll find out what direction they want to go with that.
But I would definitely add a WUMA update on the agenda.
Yeah, there you go. All right, anything else? All right, let's see, where are we at? Right behind the purpose. Council comments.
Didn't even say it that time.
Wayne.
I want to thank everyone that came out and voted in the last election. I want to thank the staff for all the support that we've gotten in the office here, and our deputies.
Okay.
Oh.
Bob, go ahead. He's got something to say. Yeah. Go ahead, Bob.
No, I want to thank also the voters of the Village of Marvin coming out and voting. Just some interesting statistics and something that I personally experienced. There's about 5,038 registered voters, and about 500 came out. And I assume that, 10%, I guess that's a good thing, I suppose, as far as voters that come out on this kind of an off-year sort of election. But what was more fascinating was I was working the precinct over at Sandy Ridge, and I would say there was just roughly about 110 people that came in to vote, and the same amount, 50%, were unable to. And it was really interesting to watch how disappointed people were coming out and being told as they were living in the chimneys, in the reserve, other neighborhoods around, that they couldn't vote. And a lot of people were surprised. This is what we're talking about, that if you want a voice, consider annexing in Village of Marvin. I mean, you're able to have control over what's going on in your neighborhood, your community, who you want to see making decisions. So it was an interesting thing to observe. So I just want to kind of remind people that that's, you need to have representation. We've been talking about it. And it's the disappointment of half as many people that voted that walked out and just said, I don't understand. Don't I have a voice? And there were a lot of people that were surprised. But, and again, thank the staff. The staff did a fantastic job, as they always do, as well as law enforcement, so thank you.
Thank you. Andy? Basically, everything's been said so far, so.
Thank you. So yes, ditto again. Thanks for everybody who came out and voted and who volunteered. And congratulations to the mayor, to Councilmember Mark Elise, to Councilmember Lyon, and to our newest member, John Barisic. We're so excited to have you joining our little happy group up here. But again, thank you for everybody that helped. We couldn't have done it without those people getting out and supporting the community, supporting what we're doing, and whether you agreed with what the current council is doing or not, I was happy to see the people out voting either way and exercising their civic duty. So thank you for that. Thank you to staff, as always. You guys do a great job. Thank you. And to Ed and Tommy, you guys be safe out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim. I too want to obviously start off with the sheriff's officer. I know, Ed, we had a quick conversation not long ago where I called you directly, have someone racing around that, so I appreciate your efforts there, and for all you guys do, we appreciate your service. Staff, as always, you guys knock it out of the park, and I got an opportunity to talk about our way of doing things here and our different form of government, which did not pass.
It didn't pass?
I don't believe it passed and stuff, and I even said to Weddington, they really need to understand what that means and for a community. So, but that things happen. Elections obviously have consequences. Again, congrats to all. Obviously, Bob and Jamie, who I was out there promoting, and John as well. And John, we're looking forward to you coming on and bringing a whole new aspect of your knowledge and over the years and how much you've been involved. So I believe the village got it right for all of us, and they spoke, and we're hitting on 8 cylinders, and we got a lot of great things to do in these next 2 years before we're up again, or some of us are. On a few other notes, always recommend to support if you're doing a live Christmas tree, support our Troop 120 that is right across the road there. They're up there. I think they're taking pre-orders right now where you can get them right over Thanksgiving. I've supported them for years. Great group of kids, Boy Scouts that have done a lot for our community as well. Band, high school band, after all those competitions, we were in Sanford a couple weeks ago, and we took first place across the board. So finally, watching them kids grow was just amazing. And on another note with the high school is our theater group at Marvin Ridge High School they had a regional competition at CATA, and they won the ability to go. There are 2 schools representing Union County for the state of North Carolina in a theater. The play is Queens, and that's happening Thursday and Friday of this week. So we're hoping things go well there. Neighboring elections have consequences. I know many may feel a certain way about Waxhaw Mayor is what it is, but I know he has done a lot for our town, our county, quite frankly, being as the chair of CRTPO. He got us on the map, and we started getting a lot more attention, or at least I saw that. And I know Jamie's not here, but we work with him. But either way, I'd like to keep the conversation, and the conversation I had with the Wall, the group that won for Waxhaw, they made an interesting thing because we're talking about some land where we may be interested in sharing land with them, but one suggested putting it into some conservatory to protect it from going into just developers. So if they're really serious about creating a park and not just more homes, that's the direction to go, in my view, and I hope something comes of that as well. WUMA, we talked about. And by the way, in all the years, 10 years I've been doing this, Wesley Chapel had over 100 votes cast at Marvin School. And I didn't even think they were a precinct, but 100 people showed up from Wesley Chapel. But to your point, but
They're not a precinct. I went in and asked, who'd I ask? Oh,
they got 100 votes.
they may have gotten them, but they're not a
theirs?
precinct. No.
Well, they were told to go
They
there,
were
they voted
provisionals.
there, and they did get nothing. But to your point, we should have some information for those upset voters and say, oh, you want to annex? Here's how you do it, and you be getting more calls and stuff, so.
I had a lady who Bob turned away, and he said, well, Kim's up at Village Hall. So she marched her behind up here, who is a friend of mine, and I sent her all of the annexation information that we presented to the Chimneys, because she lives in the
Terrific,
Chimneys, and she was
terrific. Well,
planning on presenting it to her board.
That's great, so. But anyways, I just thought it was an interesting evening, a long day, and appreciate again all the people who supported us. And with that, I will ask, we're not going into closed session, correct? I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Time is 8:07.
Okay. What do you want
8:08.
So.
Be right back.
So I'm thinking, obviously, let's get through Thanksgiving week, which is next week. So I'm thinking maybe Monday or Tuesday during the day.
Send it to me, text me.
Okay, you just come in and sit down, figure out all the neighborhoods.
Well, I'll tell you what I want to do.
Maybe we can combine some neighborhoods and then start calling.
I'll tell you what I want to do.
Okay.
Him, he got with Christina to get with